ATX. ATX is basically the default character you start with in the PC building game. When someone says desktop PC, this is what most people picture. Big case, lots of parts, and enough space inside that you don't feel like you're defusing a bomb while building it. ATX has been around since 1995, nearly 3 decades, which in tech years means it refuses to retire. Physically, a full-size ATX motherboard measures 12 by 9.6 inches, and that extra space is what makes it so comfortable to work with. You usually get 4 RAM slots, supporting anywhere from 64 to 192 gigabytes depending on the platform, which means you can upgrade later instead of regretting your life choices. Expansion is another reason ATX is so popular. Most boards come with one full-length PCIe slot for your GPU and 2 or 3 extra PCIe slots for whatever extra card you swear you'll need someday. A capture card, a sound card, or that network adapter you bought on sale and never opened. ATX also loves connectivity. Expect 8 to 12 USB ports on the back, plenty of internal headers, and usually 2 to 3 M.2 slots plus 4 to 8 SATA ports for storage. Fan headers are everywhere, and RGB headers are generous enough to turn your PC into a nightclub if that's your thing. Because ATX boards go into mid-tower or full-tower cases, airflow is usually better and cable management doesn't feel like a personal attack. This is why beginners love ATX. You actually have room to work, and your hands aren't constantly hitting something expensive. Fun fact, ATX mounting holes are designed so smaller boards like Micro-ATX and Mini-ITX use the same pattern, just fewer holes. That's why a mid-tower ATX case can technically fit all 3 sizes, giving you flexibility if you ever decide to downsize later. Price-wise, ATX covers a wide range. Basic boards start around $80 to $120. Solid gaming boards sit around $150 to $250. And high-end models can go $300 and up if you want premium power delivery and extra features you may or may not use. The downside is obvious. ATX is big. If you're aiming for a minimalist desk setup, an ATX build can feel like parking a truck in your bedroom. And if you're only running 1 GPU and 2 RAM sticks, half the board will just sit there doing nothing, silently judging you. Still, ATX sticks around because it works. It's flexible, forgiving, and future-proof enough that you don't have to think too hard. ATX is ideal for first-time builders who want room to learn, gamers planning future upgrades, and anyone who values flexibility over compact design. If you're not sure what you need, ATX is the safe bet. Micro-ATX. Micro-ATX is the middle child of motherboard sizes. Not as big as ATX, not as compact as Mini-ITX, and usually the most sensible one in the room. It delivers almost everything most users actually need, just in a more compact and sensible package. A Micro-ATX motherboard measures 9.6 by 9.6 inches, noticeably smaller than ATX, but still big enough that you don't need tweezers to install components. Most boards come with 2 to 4 RAM slots, supporting 64 to 128 gigabytes, which is plenty for gaming, productivity, or multitasking without constantly worrying about upgrades. Expansion is where Micro-ATX draws the line. You usually get 1 full-length PCIe slot for a GPU and 1 or 2 extra PCIe slots. That's fine for most builds, because let's face it, most people never use more than a single graphics card anyway. Those extra slots on ATX mostly exist to make you feel prepared for battles that may never happen. Storage is still solid. Expect 1 to 2 M.2 slots and around 4 SATA ports. USB connectivity is slightly trimmed compared to ATX, but you're still looking at 6 to 10 rear USB ports, enough for everything from your keyboard and mouse to random USB gadgets you found in a drawer. Micro-ATX boards fit into Micro-ATX cases and most mid-tower cases, which means airflow is decent and cable management doesn't ruin your mood. The building experience is still comfortable, just a bit more snug than ATX. Price is one of Micro-ATX's biggest advantages. Budget options start around $60 to $90, while solid gaming boards land around $100 to $180. You get most of the performance and features of ATX without paying for things you'll never use. The downside is flexibility. Fewer expansion slots means fewer upgrade paths, and some budget boards cut corners on VRM quality or premium features. And once you commit to Micro-ATX, you accept that 1 GPU is probably enough for you. Micro-ATX is ideal for budget gaming builds, office PCs, and anyone who wants solid performance without overspending on features they'll never touch. If you just need a reliable gaming rig without the premium price tag, this is your sweet spot. Quick question, what form factor is your current PC running? Drop it in the comments. And if this is finally making motherboard sizes make sense, hit the like button. It genuinely helps the channel. Mini-ITX. Mini-ITX is the tiny powerhouse of motherboards at just 6.7 by 6.7 inches. It's small enough to fit in compact cases, under your desk, or even in a backpack if you're building a LAN party rig. Don't let the size fool you. It can still handle modern CPUs and GPUs, but you'll have to make some sacrifices. RAM support is usually 2 slots, maxing out around 64 gigabytes on high-end boards. That's enough for gaming, streaming, and productivity, but multitasking like a mad scientist with 8 browser tabs, a video editor, and a virtual machine running at once may require careful planning. Expansion is limited. Most Mini-ITX boards only have one full-length PCIe slot, which means a single GPU setup is mandatory. Forget about multiple graphics cards, capture cards, or fancy extra add-ons. Storage is decent though. Expect 1 or 2 M.2 slots and 2 to 4 SATA ports, just enough for SSDs and a couple of drives. Connectivity usually includes 6 to 8 rear USB ports, sometimes USB-C plus Wi-Fi and Ethernet on most modern boards. Fan headers are fewer, so cooling your system requires careful case selection and cable management, or you'll be listening to your PC trying to take off like a jet engine. Price-wise, Mini-ITX can be surprisingly friendly. $90 to $150 for budget boards, $200 to $350 for premium gaming or enthusiasts boards. You pay extra for compact design, higher quality VRMs, and features like built-in Wi-Fi or RGB headers. The beauty of Mini-ITX is portability and compact builds. The trade-off is expansion. There's no room for indulgence, but for people who want power in a tiny package, Mini-ITX nails it. Mini-ITX is ideal for small desk setups, living room HTPCs, LAN party rigs, or anyone who wants a full-featured system without dominating the entire room. If portability matters more than expandability, this is your form factor. EATX. EATX is the motherboard equivalent of that giant PC case you saw in magazines back in 2008 and thought, wow, someday I'll have one of those. At 12 by 13 inches or more, it's massive. Bigger than ATX, bigger than most desks, and enough to make you nostalgic for the days when full tower cases felt like the future. The size means 8 RAM slots supporting up to 256 gigabytes or more on high-end boards. Multi-GPU setups are possible. Storage is insane with 4.6 M.2 slots and 8 or more SATA ports. And expansion is basically unlimited. You could throw in GPUs, capture cards, sound cards, and maybe a miniature toaster if you really wanted to. Connectivity is ridiculous. Expect 10 to 12 USB ports, dual Ethernet on some boards, built-in Wi-Fi, and enough fan and RGB headers to make your PC look like a spaceship bridge. Power delivery is rock solid, letting high-end CPUs overclock without melting your dreams. Price matches the extravagance. Entry-level EATX boards start around $250 to $300. Mid-range gaming options hit $400 to $600. And ultra-premium boards with every feature imaginable can top $700. You're paying for space, flexibility, and a bragging right you can show off to anyone who asks, how many slots does it have? The downsides? Well, most people don't actually need this much motherboard. It dominates your case and desk. Cable management becomes a test of patience. And yes, it might feel like building a Lego set that costs as much as a small used car. But if you want every upgrade path, multiple GPUs, and enough RAM to make a data center jealous, EATX delivers. EATX is ideal for workstation builds, content creators handling massive projects, enthusiasts who want every possible upgrade path, and anyone building a high-end system where overkill is the entire point. If you need extreme performance and have the budget to match, EATX is your playground. And that's every motherboard form factor explained, from towers that swallow desks to tiny builds that barely fit in a bag. Whether you're building for space, performance, or just bragging rights, there's a motherboard for every kind of builder. Comment below which one you've built with and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Now here's the thing, you just learned about the foundation your entire PC sits on, but what about the parts that actually plug into it? CPU, GPU, RAM, storage? If those sound like random letters instead of actual components, you're not alone. That's exactly what we're covering in every computer component explained simply. What each part does, why it matters, and which ones you should actually spend money on. Click the video on screen right now, and I'll see you there.